How's it going, everyone? With Splatoon's latest patch just getting released today, I wanted to give you all my initial impressions on the changes. Before we get started, I do want to mention that these are all just opinions I have and shouldn't be taken as fact. These balance patches are designed to encourage players to use other weapons. Splatoon would be a pretty boring game if every team loadout was E-Leader's Tynatix and Gao weapons, so overall, I support these game adjustments. The Splatoon devs weren't beating around the bush with this adjustment. It literally looks like they made a list of the most popular weapons, made 2 cutoff points, and distributed changes based on where the weapons fell. This is a very easy way for players to be less encouraged to use a popular weapon like the Tynatix or the 96 Cal Deco, but it seems like a lazy change. Don't get me wrong, statistically it makes perfect sense and I'm confident it'll have some impact on weapon usage. I also don't like that it adds another layer of complexity to the game. For example, the Zinc Mini Splatling received a medium reduction, meaning when getting splatted, 60% of the filled special gauge will be lost. The regular Mini Splatling is receiving a buff, meaning it will only lose 40%. Although now I see a reason to use the regular Mini Splatling, I have to remember that it falls into this list of buffed weapons. One potential solution to this new complexity would be adding an additional stat next to each weapon's description in Shelved in Shop. They could also just slap % reduction sticker on the weapon description in the equipment menu. But hey, maybe the new game's already like this. I did do this recording before the 2.7 patch got released, so it's definitely possible. This game adjustment makes the most logical sense to me. The nerf affects the heaviest weapons in the game, the big pieces of metal that shouldn't be moving a lot in the first place. I mean, think about it. It makes perfect sense that a 14-year-old squid kid would swim a little slower than carrying a roller infused with a fucking engine, right? This change shows us that the Splatoon devs want us to be using these weapons for their intended purpose. A dynamo shouldn't really be played like a splat roller, and an E-Leader shouldn't be played as a Swiffer either. I don't actually know if people have been using the Hydro Splatling as a medium range weapon. Maybe it had something to do with the Japanese meta, but either way, maybe these long range weapons will be used as such in this update. Now let's get to the fun part. What did Sheldon do to his misfit weapons in hopes of selling more products? I do want to point out that any weapon that received a nerf also received a buff along with it. I think the purpose of the main weapon buffs were not to discourage players from using popular weapons, rather it was to make the less popular weapons more appealing. Let's think about some of the changes that were made. The Splashmatic is a really cool weapon. It is a rapid-firing, ink-spreading machine with a straight fire pattern and low range. Until now, the fact that 4 shots were required to kill mixed with the poor range made this weapon seem like a worse version of the splatter shot. These differences were remedied by making the weapon quicker to get a splat on the enemy. The shots now travel faster, farther, and with more accuracy than before. This is definitely going to be one of the first weapons I play with when the update hits. The NZAP is most comparable to the Dual Squelcher. It is a mid-range shooter with good turret coverage and a 4-shot kill. In the 2.2 patch, it received a generous run speed boost when firing, making its ink spreading capabilities even better. The ink coverage of this weapon got buffed even more, making this a contender for the best turf war weapon. The patch notes attached to this buff weren't phrased very well, so I'll do my best to clarify. So you know how when you're firing straight forward, there's the ink that drops down underneath your line of fire, making a path. Now those droplets of ink make a wider path, and they make the path faster. All in all, this is an adjustment that makes the weapon more fun, and by no means do I think it's broken. The Splattershot Pro is one of my favorite shooter class weapons. The Splattershot Pro is a mid to long range shooter weapon with low ink efficiency and poor turf coverage. But what it lacks in turf coverage is more than made up for in killing potential. The Splattershot Pro's shots travel faster than the Dual Squelcher, which is a very similar weapon. With version 2.7's new update, the version shot speed is even further increased, along with a slight range increase. I honestly think we're going to be seeing a lot more of the Splattershot Pro in tournaments and competitive play. The 96 gal got nerfed pretty hard with this update. With its base damage reduced to 52, its damage is now equal to the 52 gal. Which means the 96 gal users now have to face the same damage up issue that the 52 gal users have to face. The only upside for this weapon is that there will be less RNG when aiming at enemies, but I wouldn't be surprised if I saw 96 gal mains start to pick up the Splattershot Pro. The Jet Squelcher is known for being the longest range shooter in the game. The weapon does best when the user can use its range to their advantage. Getting a run speed increase might seem random at first, but when you're firing this weapon at people, they're going to try to get in your face to get the splat. Being able to back up while firing them down will give you more time to secure the kills that you need. This buff was probably put in entirely due to the burst bomb nerf we're about to cover here soon, so as far as I'm concerned, the carbon roller is unaffected on average. These charger variants are the most comfortable for a non-charger main like myself. Time after time, the Splatoon devs have shown they want the charger weapons to not be used like a squiffer. Unless they're the squiffer. First they nerfed the damage stacking, and now they nerf the partial charge range. Although, these weapons receiving a slight range increase means they can now comfortably reach across the gap on Mori towers. I'm excited to try it out. These weapons got the same partial charge adjustment that the splatter scopes received, but these weapons were shown some sympathy by reducing the amount of time it takes to fully charge a shot. 2.7 gave the splatter scopes more range and the E-liters a quicker charge speed. The two weapons have gotten closer to each other in terms of range and charge time in that way. So if you're a splatter scope main who found the E-liter too difficult, 2.7 might make the weapon transition easier for you. The slosher was lucky enough to be one of the 3 weapons to receive 2 buffs instead of 1 buff and a nerf. The main issue the Splatoon devs wanted to address with this update was the slosher's ability to get 2 hits on the enemy for the splat. Getting hit by the first bucket full of ink won't mean that you're dead, but it will be harder to escape than it was before. This weapon change is one I'm most excited about. Before the patch, the Hydra Splatling did a base damage of 28, which means it has a 4-shot kill. But with 2.7's adjustments, they increased the Hydra's damage output to 35. That's the same with the 10 tech. With a little bit of damage up, you can guarantee yourself a 3-hit splat every time. The burst bomb got hit the hardest with this update. Its ink efficiency is now a shadow of what it once was, consuming 40% of your ink tank. 40%! That's disgusting! You can only throw 2 now compared to the 4 you used to be able to. The burst bombs do cover more turf now, but that doesn't take away from the offensive potential that the sub-weapons used to have. For example, E-liter users will now have to be precise with their accuracy when throwing close to an enemy. If they don't get at least 1 direct, they're done for. The ink mine used to always be a deal breaker for most people. The lack of immediate usage outside of tower control made it very hard to get intentional kills with it. I'm not sure if 2.7's adjustments will change anything in the competitive scene, but it will certainly make the ink mine a lot more fun. I'm definitely going to be laying ink mine traps, waiting for the enemy to get close to them, and then immediately placing a new ink mine down, forcing the other to explode. It'll be the newest disrespect kill in the game. The Seekers are now faster and paint a little more. Although I do agree that the Seeker weapons aren't very good, it's not because the Seekers don't cover enough ink or travel fast enough. The Seekers just simply take too much ink and take too long to throw out. The Seekers will be better used for travel at least, so we can all look forward to that. Oh, alright. This change to ink strikes doesn't change much. It does mean that if you see someone launching an ink strike out in the open, you have less time to punish them, so be quick. Remember in 2.6 when Splatoon buffed Recon and Haunts in hopes that everyone would stop using Cold-Blooded? That was less than a month ago, and already they're taking further actions to reduce Cold-Blooded's popularity. Cold-Blooded used to reduce the amount of time you were revealed by 1/4 of the base time. Now Cold-Blooded only cuts that amount of time in half. Not only that, but Echolocator and Haunt now only reveal you for 9 seconds instead of 12. I honestly think Cold-Blooded will drop off in popularity the way that Ninja Squid did back after the 1.3 update. But keep this in mind, my fellow Dynamo users, if people stop running Cold-Blooded, our nerfed Echolocator will last longer than it did back when everyone ran Cold-Blooded. Well, that's all for now guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, why not express those feelings by clicking on the button with a hand sticking its thumb up. Also, I'm curious as to what you guys are most excited for in the update. Leave a comment letting me know. If you're new to the channel, why not subscribe if you enjoyed the content? I mean, it seems like a pretty good deal for everyone. Anyway, thanks for watching everyone. I'll see you later.